Raw this week was a strange show, uncovered a lot of changes across the show, including a change to the Elimination Chamber and the announcement of a pregnancy which turned out to actually apparently be real. With news on Lacey Evans and Kofi Mania 2, welcome to your WWE Raw review. Raw opened with a Miz TV segment in which Drew McIntyre started to show that he is faltering at the edges ever so slightly under the pressure of the Elimination Chamber. The Miz riled him up further and further, eventually getting a headbutt for his troubles, and then afterwards The Miz announced that he would be withdrawing himself from the Elimination Chamber. This left an opening which would be filled by Kofi Kingston. The Miz would attempt to put John Morrison into the match, but Adam Pearce would, under advisement from the New Day, choose to get Kofi Kingston involved as well. The end result here was a match between The Miz and Kofi Kingston, a very competitive match, to be fair, which Kofi won, putting himself into the chamber. His chances of winning, unfortunately, I don't think are very high. Our first match was a 6-man tag with Riddle and the Lucha House Party defeating the Hurt Business lacking Bobby Lashley, MVP taking the pin from Riddle and doing everything he can, as always, to put over new talent. After the match, as has now become traditional, Bobby Lashley came down and destroyed Matt Riddle. There was no sign of Keith Lee, but they did announce that the match would still be going ahead, so clearly he's not missing too much. This week's Bad Bunny segment featured Akira Tozawa winning the 24/7 championship from R-Truth, being taken out by Damian Priest, and Bad Bunny winning the 24/7 championship from him. This is because Bad Bunny will be the musical guest on Saturday Night Live this weekend, so they wanted to put a title on him, so he had the WWE logo. Bad Bunny, given his success with his merch so far, also has a new t-shirt which actually features Damian Priest and other wrestlers that they can put over as well. The beginning of the second hour draw segment featured, as usual, Charlotte Flair. This time she teamed with Asuka to take on Peyton Royce and Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans, however, never got into the ring, and upon being tagged in by Peyton Royce, announced that she was pregnant and walked away, and the match just sort of ended. Asuka was an afterthought here, Peyton Royce was an afterthought here, and apparently Lacey Evans is actually pregnant. This is according to a report from Wrestling Inc. I've reached out since, and it seems as though the match has been scrapped with no immediate replacement. There is a consideration as to what replacement matches there could be. We may hear from something on social media in the days just before Elimination Chamber, but at the moment there is no Raw Women's Championship match booked for the Chamber. Oh, and apparently in real life, Ric Flair is not the father of the child. I feel I should point that out. Lana showed how much she's improved in the ring recently by being competitive in a match against Shayna Baszler. It was a brief match and Nia Jax was not as heavily featured as previously. There were a few jokes at the expense of her hole, but her hole itself was not featured as prominently as usual. Shayna Baszler needed this win. A bit of 50-50 booking is not a bad thing when it's someone like Shayna Baszler. She can't keep losing. It looks like this tag match could possibly be on the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, essentially to get room for the Dusty Classic winners and to replace the fact that there is currently no women's match booked for the Chamber pay-per-view. Braun Strowman approached Adam Pearce backstage, essentially saying, "Why aren't I in the Elimination Chamber match?" He said to Adam Pearce, "Talk to Shane McMahon, get him to make this right or there will be consequences." I don't want to see Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon at WrestleMania. But it looks like the Elimination Chamber could be a 7-man, or we could be building towards McIntyre vs Strowman at WrestleMania. The entire third hour of the show was dedicated to a gauntlet match, the winner of which would enter last at the Elimination Chamber, a significant advantage which has not paid off for anyone who has had it ever since it's happened. The match opened with Kofi Kingston vs AJ Styles. Kofi Kingston, already having suffered through a match with The Miz earlier in the night, was easy pickings for AJ Styles, especially with distractions from Omos, who chokeslammed, or at least somewhat chokeslammed, maybe a claw, I'm not sure, Xavier Woods out into the Thunderdome. The camera angle was basically looking up at his crotch the whole time. I mean, he looked big. I have no idea what the move was though. Drew McIntyre was third out and would defeat AJ Styles after a brief but memorable match. The same would happen immediately afterwards with Drew McIntyre versus Jeff Hardy. A clean win for McIntyre, but a good look for Hardy in that he was able to show what he can do as well. He has not been on winning ways recently as Jeff Hardy, and I don't think the Elimination Chamber is going to fix that. Next out was Randy Orton. However, he did not last long in the ring. We were very close to the end of the show at this point, and it was already at the point where we expected Alexa Bliss to appear. She had been shown earlier in the night inside a protective pentagram, summoning the Fiend to return. That did not happen. Instead, we just got Alexa Bliss's face on a lot of TVs. I don't know what ritual it is that gets you on TV, but she has certainly succeeded in doing so. Orton was significantly distracted, would be counted out, and upon attempting to return to the ring afterwards, would get a claymore for his troubles. Finally, with only a couple of minutes left to go, Sheamus made his entrance, attacking McIntyre from behind. We did have the spot immediately afterwards where the referee had to ask if Drew McIntyre wanted to continue. He did. He would eventually be put down by a brogue kick. This means that Drew McIntyre has been pinned by only 3 people in more than a year: Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, and Sheamus. Quite a trio to be a part of. Sheamus is now going to be entering the chamber last, and I think has a significant chance of looking like a threat before he loses. Raw, I felt, was an okay to good show this week. Certainly not a world beater, but not bad by any stretch of the imagination. Most of the storylines got the focus they needed, but I think there were a couple of misnomers. The comedy aspect of Matt Riddle just hasn't hit with me. Lacey Evans announcing her pregnancy the way she did, I feel there were maybe better ways to do that. Given that her pregnancy has been reported as real, I can understand that they really didn't have a choice in how they announced it, they just did the best they could. But in reality, this is a bit of a bad moment for Asuka as well, who misses out on a potential competitor. We saw Shayna Baszler look a bit more dominant again, which is always a good thing. We saw a very good match between Kofi Kingston and The Miz, and the Gauntlet match really delivered as well. I think this match served very well to hype the Elimination Chamber, even though it is not technically the go-home show anymore. SmackDown will be more telling going forwards. I have been Tom Colohue. Thank you for watching the WWE Raw review. Subscribe if you haven't, like if you can, and remember that I will be doing an Elimination Chamber watch along on twitch.tv/Tom Colohue and right here on YouTube this weekend. I hope to see you all there. Thank you very much for watching.